Have you ever sat in a crowded room, laughter filling the air, conversations circling the weather, the news, or some trivial joke, yet inside you felt only a quiet emptiness? You tried to say something real, a thought that went deeper than the surface, a reflection you've been carrying in your mind. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The room grew silent. Someone changed the subject, and there you were, feeling the distance that no one dared to name. That feeling does not mean you are too much. It is the silent ache of those who see deeper. Jung once said, "The more intelligent and self-aware you are, the more you will suffer from the unconsciousness around you." But this is not a sentence. It is proof that you are awakening. The question is not, how do I stop feeling out of place? But rather, how do I live with truth when the world wants to escape it? In this video, you will come to understand that loneliness is not failure. It is the sign that you are entering a rare journey, the journey of a deep thinker. And when you learn how to place your invisible mirror in the right place, your solitude will turn into strength. Have you ever wondered why people always come to you to unload their burdens? Yet when it is your turn, no one stays long enough to listen. That is the familiar loop of deep thinkers. You walk into a room, and before anyone says a word, you can feel the tension pressing into the air. You hear a story, and you don't just hear the words, you hear the fear hidden behind them. Others leave the conversation lighter, but you walk away exhausted, as if carrying a weight that was never yours to begin with. Then they turn their backs, leaving you alone with unanswered questions. At work, when everyone tries to prove their worth by repeating the same tired slogans, you dare to ask, "Does this matter?" Instead of thoughtful reflection, you are met with annoyed stares, sarcastic remarks, sometimes even labeled as the troublemaker. In your family, you remember asking, "Why do Mom and Dad do that? Why must we obey rules no one explains?" The answer was often a sharp rebuke. Stop asking, just do it. Each time you learned to stay quiet, but inside the questions only grew sharper and heavier. The pain of deep thinkers is not physical solitude, but invisible separation. You can sit in the middle of a crowd and still feel misplaced, like you are tuned to a frequency no one else hears. And from there, a doubt creeps in. Am I the problem? Am I too sensitive, too complicated, too much? But the truth does not lie in you. Carl Jung once said, "Society does not only fear its own shadow, but it despises anyone who dares to bring that shadow into the light." You are avoided not because you are wrong, but because your presence is a reminder that something is being hidden. You are not too much. You are living proof that the illusions around us are paper thin. And that is why the deeper you go into yourself, the more you find yourself pushed to the edges. The problem is not you. It is how the world reacts to the mirror you carry in your hand. Carl Jung called it mass-mindedness, the state in which the human mind no longer operates independently, but drifts with the crowd. An ordinary person in society is not taught to search for their answers, but to repeat a pre-written script. Success means owning a house and a car. A smile is proof of happiness, and silence equals maturity. Everything is programmed to maintain surface peace. But when a deep thinker appears, that peace begins to crack. Because you do not only ask, how? You dare to ask, why? And that question alone pulls the entire room out of its orbit. A teacher may feel challenged, a manager may feel their authority slipping, and a friend may feel exposed. No one says it outright, but everyone steps back. They are not afraid because you are wrong. They are afraid because hidden in your words is the shadow they are desperate to conceal. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of truth we refuse to acknowledge. Deep thinkers are the mirrors that make the shadow visible. When you point out contradictions, When you stir the memory of wounds, you force others to face their darkness. And instead of gratitude, the first response is rejection, denial, or even attack. That is why when you speak the truth, you are labeled negative. When you stay quiet, you are seen as distant. When you share your pain, you are accused of being dramatic. But in reality, you are simply fulfilling the natural function of an awakened mind, seeing what others refuse to see. The problem is, society does not reward truth. It rewards conformity. In the workplace, the one skilled at pretending to agree is praised as a team player. In love, the one who swallows silence is praised as mature. In the family, the child who asks fewer questions is praised as obedient. And you, because you cannot pretend, are branded as difficult. From there, you begin to believe you are the problem. But according to Jung, the price of awareness is isolation. Not because you are an exception, but because this world survives by maintaining collective illusions. Anyone who breaks that illusion will be punished. Once you understand this mechanism, you see that your loneliness is not proof you are wrong, but a sign you are entering a territory few people dare to touch. And that is the very threshold of inner freedom. There is something few people realize. The resistance you face is rarely because you are wrong, but because you touched exactly the place others are desperate to hide. Jung called this the reaction of the shadow, the part they refuse to confront, so they fight back against anyone who dares to reflect it. Think back to a time you spoke the truth in your family. Maybe you reminded your parents of how they hurt you, and instead of listening, they called you ungrateful. At work, you pointed out that a project was heading in the wrong direction, and suddenly, the whole room branded you negative. In love, you named the habits that suffocated both of you, and your partner withdrew in silence. Each of these reactions was never about you. It was about the mirror you were holding. The problem is what happens next. When these reactions repeat, you begin to believe you are the problem. This is how the unconscious loop locks you in. You speak truth, others resist. You feel isolated, you grow silent, and the truth goes unspoken. And so the shadow remains protected while you learn to censor yourself. Jung warned that this is the very mechanism through which society sustains its collective sleep. Anyone who dares to speak truth is pushed out, so the crowd can keep living inside the illusion of safety. But the moment you understand this mechanism, a door cracks open. You stop asking, "Why am I always rejected?" and start seeing, they are rejecting their own shadow, not my being. This shift of awareness is crucial because it reclaims the power you unconsciously gave away. It reminds you that truth does not make you alone. Truth divides. It keeps near you the ones brave enough to stay, and it filters out those who would rather hide in illusion. Yet there is a whispering warning here. Truth is not a ticket to rescue everyone. You cannot force people to look into the mirror before they are ready. The harder you push, the more they see you as hostile. Your task is not to drag others into awakening. Your task is to hold the mirror steady, so that when someone finds the courage, they will find you there. And here lies the breaking point. You are not isolated because you failed. You are isolated because you stand at the threshold before others dare to arrive. So if you find yourself met again and again with cold reactions, pause and ask, is this proof that I am wrong? Or is this proof that I see what they cannot bear to see? That question is like the key that flips the whole game. It keeps you from falling back into the old loop. And let me say this as both a warning and a promise. Everything you have heard so far is only the surface layer. If you stay until the end of this video, you will uncover a paradoxical truth that most people go their entire lives avoiding. That the loneliness you carry is not the sign you are excluded from the world. It is the secret doorway into a freedom society will never want you to discover. Imagine you are holding in your hands a transparent mirror. It does not reflect the face. It reflects the parts of people they want to hide. When someone stands before you, they do not see their smile. They see the exhaustion they tried to bury. They do not see their polished words. They see the anxiety pressed beneath them. And the instant they realize it, their first instinct is not gratitude, but retreat. That is the experience you carry every single day. The invisible mirror you never asked for but can never put down. At work, a colleague boasts of their accomplishments, but you see the emptiness in their eyes. In friendship, someone says, "I'm fine," but you hear the fracture in their voice. In love, someone laughs, but you can feel the fear of being abandoned beneath it. And you just made them look into a mirror they hate to face. Sometimes you even try to hide it. You smile more, you nod along, you pretend to agree. But the truth still leaks out through your eyes, through your silences, through the way you see straight through them. Because the mirror is not in your hands, it is in your very presence. Carl Jung once said, "People are not afraid of the darkness outside, they are afraid of the shadow within." You are the one who makes that shadow take shape. And so they are pulled toward you, because truth is magnetic, while at the same time they withdraw, because truth is painful. This is the paradox of the deep thinker, carrying within you a light-reflecting tool no one asked for, but also a gift no one else can give. That invisible mirror is not a punishment. It is proof that you see more than society allows. And one day, when you meet the right person, the mirror will no longer frighten them. It will become the thing that gives them the courage to face themselves. That is when you understand the loneliness you have carried all this time was for a reason, so that you could protect this gift until those rare moments arrive, when someone is finally brave enough to look in. If you are truly a deep thinker, you are probably familiar with being the one others come to when their lives are in chaos. They sit down, unload everything, and walk away lighter, leaving you drained with no one ever noticing. You ask yourself, why am I always the place where people come to pour it all out? The truth is that the invisible mirror within you makes them feel safe enough to expose themselves, but at the same time, it terrifies them to stay too long. You grow accustomed to playing the role of the silent wall, absorbing everything, holding everything, but never receiving the same in return. And then there are moments when you try to hide that depth. You laugh at the right times, nod in rhythm, throw out a few shallow comments just to blend in. But when you get home, you feel hollow, as if you betrayed yourself. That exhaustion builds until, at times, you think, maybe it would be easier to switch it off, to live lightly like they do. But Carl Jung once warned, to abandon your depth is to abandon your soul. The price is not an easier life, but turning yourself into an empty shell. You might end up with more friends, fewer conflicts, but in silence, you know you have lost the most important thing, your inner voice. Think back to the times you stayed quiet even though you saw something wrong just to keep the peace. What did you feel then? A false calm on the surface, but deep in your gut, a sharp ache. That was your body reminding you. Truth does not disappear. It only demands to be lived. And if you keep ignoring it, the thing that vanishes is you. You are not too much. You are simply carrying a mirror that others are not yet brave enough to face. And the question now is no longer, how do I get accepted? But, do I have the courage to hold on to the mirror, even when it leaves me standing alone? How many times have you asked yourself, am I too sensitive, too much, too serious? Those words feel like invisible labels others press onto you, until slowly you begin to believe them. But pause and ask yourself carefully, who has the right to define too much? Is it the crowd spinning endlessly inside illusions, or is it you, the one daring to look directly at the shadow they keep avoiding? Jung once said, people would rather project their darkness outward than face it within. And when you appear as a mirror, their resistance is not against you, but against the part of themselves they have buried. Here lies the first reframing. You are not too much. You are the keeper of the mirror. When you walk into a room, the rhythm shifts. When you speak the truth, the air tightens. When you are silent, people grow uneasy, not because the silence is empty, but because it is full. So full that they cannot escape it. And most would rather smash the mirror than dare to look. The old language turns you into the problem. The new language turns you into the witness. From troublemaker, reminder. From loner, keeper of the flame. From too much, enough to keep truth from being swallowed. Remember this, you were not born to fit neatly inside a shallow room. Every time you cut away your edges to stay, you are not loved more. You are only learning how to disappear more skillfully. Love bought with silence is not love. It is a contract that demands your erasure. And here is the second shock. If you keep playing the role of free comforter, one day you will wake up and realize you have become the shadow in someone else's story. Jung called this unconscious vampirism, when their shadow survives by feeding on your light. You are not cold when you withdraw. You are severing the tube that drains your soul dry. What is the new language? It is when you call your silence a boundary, not surrender. When one no becomes an affirmation of self, not a crime. When the distance you keep is no longer punishment, but hidden love for your inner flame, so it does not get extinguished by toxic winds. Whisper this line to yourself, short and sharp, like a blade cutting through the heart. I am not wrong for seeing. In the very instant you say it, the world tilts slightly. You are no longer on trial. You stand as a witness. You are no longer the beggar for acceptance. You are the bearer of truth. And here is the final reframing. You are not excess. You are an untranslated language. People call you hard to understand, not because you are wrong, but because their dictionary is too small to contain you. The price of holding the true flame may sometimes be loneliness, but that loneliness is not empty. It is untouched land waiting for the first brave step. And you, trembling as you are the one breaking the path. If the invisible mirror always walks with you, then instead of trying to hide it, learn how to place it in the right spot. There are a few small actions that can transform the whole experience. First, learn to set boundaries. When someone pours all their pain onto you, dare to say, I hear you, but I also need to rest. This is not selfishness. It is protection, so the mirror doesn't shatter under the weight. Second, practice choosing who is worthy. Not everyone dares to face the truth. Don't press the mirror into the hands of those who only want illusions. Offer your deep presence to those willing to look, and for the rest, allow yourself to keep silence. Third, create a private space to release. Write it down, record your voice for yourself, or walk alone somewhere quiet. When no one else can hold the mirror for you, learn to do it yourself. It keeps you from dissolving into the noise around you. And finally, acknowledge your role. Don't call it a burden, call it a gift. Each time someone grows uneasy at the truth you reflect, remember, You did not create the wound. You only revealed it was already there. The invisible mirror is not meant to be discarded, but to be used as a tool, shining light on the right people at the right time and turning it gently back toward yourself. If you keep shrinking yourself, if you keep convincing yourself that maybe it's easier to stay quiet, easier to blend in so I can breathe, be careful. The cost isn't just a few moments of loneliness disappearing. The cost is your soul turning into abandoned ground. One day, you'll look into the mirror and see your eyes hollow, no fire, no questions, no inner voice calling. You will have become the person Jung once warned about, the one who trades away their truth for cheap applause. The world will praise you as mature, agreeable, easygoing. But that isn't praise. It's a sentence. Because it proves you've stopped thinking, stopped resisting, chosen to fall asleep with the crowd. And while sleep feels comforting, sleeping too long and there is no way back. But if you dare to hold on to your depth, even for a single moment each day, the outcome will be entirely different. You won't have many friends, but the ones who stay will be real. You won't be easily praised, but the quiet in your chest will be real. You may never again be called normal, but you will be something rare, a human being who hasn't lost themselves. Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." Ask yourself, do you want to live your entire life in a dream constructed by the crowd? Or wake up in loneliness but know that it's your truth? Don't fear solitude. Solitude is only the first shell of truth. And don't fear being disliked. Being disliked by the crowd is sometimes the clearest proof that you've escaped the collective numbness. Engrave this into your mind. Your silence is no longer weakness, it is choice. And that choice defines the quality you carry: courage. In a society half asleep, the one who dares to awaken will always be seen as strange. But strange is better than drowning in familiar illusions. Hold on to this last line, sharp and cold like a blade. Better alone with the truth than surrounded by lies. There's something few people ever say. Living true to your depth isn't a final destination. It's only the first doorway. Once you step through, you'll see countless other layers waiting. Fears that have never been named, memories that haven't been deciphered, abilities you've never dared to unlock. It's like an ancient seal resting on a letter no one has ever touched. You know that with a single break, a hidden message would appear. But breaking it also means there's no turning back. Today, you don't need to shatter everything. Just one small act. Write down a sentence you've never dared to say out loud. Keep it for yourself as the first quiet attempt to face your depth. That act, though small, is like pressing your hand against the seal, a silent pact with yourself. And maybe, in the next video, we'll touch another seal, deeper, harder to break, but carrying a secret the world outside could never give you. Let this question linger. Without rushing to answer, are you ready to open that seal?